Hey Neil, I had some technical difficulties. I couldn't live stream via GeForce Experience, so I had to download OBS, and I'm not that familiar with OBS, so hopefully this is okay. And hopefully you can hear me okay. Oh, okay, cool. Ah, the Angry Scotsman. Hello, hello. Yeah, I can give you a hand with that, Liam. No problem. Yeah, it's fun. It's fun to do. I haven't done it in a while, but and Liam, this is going to be a bit geeky, a bit nerdy, and typically this is something that you would ordinarily do if you were working with pure XAML. And obviously, we're not going to be working with pure XAML. This is something that the editor will now do for you, so you don't really have to think about what it's doing behind the scenes. But that's what this build is all about, and this preview is just going to go over the user interface. It just gives you guys the opportunity to tell me if I'm on the right track, or if you have some other ideas, I can incorporate them at this early stage before trying to redo it towards the end. Hey Victor. So I didn't actually want to give a demo until I felt comfortable with, I guess, my progress on the user interface, and how it felt for me just playing around with it. So I feel pretty confident I'm on the right track. So so we'll get into it. I had put up a sneak peek video on the forum not so long ago, um, showing off or demonstrating a parent control that, or container, that you can place other UI elements inside, and then therefore you can move the parent around, or at least you can have all the contents structured nicely within the parent. That is what this build is all about. Um, be it parent-child or container controls, whatever you want to call it, but that's what this build is all about. And this is something that is done all the time within XAML, and this has been done many times in the past within all the themes that are available for Big Box. All right, so it's a big build. It's fairly complicated, and complicated in more so complicated in the way in which things need to be presented to the user. Okay, so a lot of thought um, has got to go into it, so so it's usable, it's easy to use. Not to say that the code behind the scenes is not complicated, it is, but it's more complicated to come up with a user interface that makes sense, and it's easy to use for you guys. All right, and again, I'm trying to make it easy to use, so you don't have to be a developer to use the software. All right, so if I use this view, for example, we can see that um, the parent that I've selected right now is this one here, stack 1. Okay, and then the first row that it is displaying is this one here, and I've just given it a title of developer because that's what it pertains to. And then within this parent, and all parents are highlighted in a yellow, and the non-parents, or the children, if you will, the typical UI elements that you've been using all this time, are in green. All right, so I've just used a constant label, if you will, developer. Okay, and that appears here, and then another text field, but this time using metadata, which is the game developer. And if the game developer is not present, it will use a hard-coded fallback value of unknown. All right, so that's the first row, and I kind of continue this whole process all the way down the line. Publisher is made up of two components, a label and the actual data, and then released, and so on and so forth. Then it gets quite interesting when we get to ESRB. Okay, so ignore the focus area. I haven't touched the editor in any shape or form. All right, the only thing I've pretty much worked on is this container here. So it's a lot easier for you guys to use and structure and nest elements within another element, and so on and so forth. That has taken over a month for me to get it right, or I think I've gotten it right. And then the code generator behind the scenes. So I have not touched the editor. So with this focus area here, so for example, if I click on these UI elements, they're off. They're not quite right. It's not locating the position and size correctly. I think the lower down I go, the more off it is. Yeah, see, the text is not within the box. So ignore that. I have not touched that yet. So yeah, as I was saying, with ESRB, this gets quite interesting, because ESRB, I have this image, and then I wanted to display a label and another image below it, and another label and another image below it. So in order to do that, we have this image here, and because I'm in this dock, which is a horizontal dock, I'm saying to the right of the image, I wish to have a label, and then underneath that label, I want the rating. In order to achieve that, I had to add a stack, and then the stack will essentially kind of stack your items vertically. Now, talking of which, I'm using XAML terminology here, all right, and I'm not too happy about that. And that's another reason why I wanted to do the live stream this morning before I get too carried away with myself. Okay, so we have this stack, and the icon within it shows items stacked vertically, and then we have this dock, and that shows items stacked or docked horizontally. I was thinking of actually changing the names to either VDock and HDock, so vertical docking and horizontal docking, or VStack and HStack. What do you think? Or any other kind of terminology that would make sense for you guys. Again, I'm trying to avoid using XAML terminology. Column and row. Maybe. Unless stack and dock is okay, you know, and you grow accustomed to using that terminology. Okay. I mean, for people that have dabbled with XAML, obviously you're familiar with that terminology, but you know, this is a graphical interface, so like I said, I've tried to shy away from using that kind of terminology. Okay, all right. So moving on then. Um, so another thing that I recently added to this control here, in addition obviously to these connector lines and nesting and all this good stuff, was the ability to easily move components around between groups, and the list is not all in one area. So you've got the vertical scroll bar here, even with the current build that you're using at the moment, that's out on the forum. What is that, 1089? It's a bit of a bugger to move objects around. You would have to say, I want to move to this particular group or move to this group, and then you jump down to that group, and then you drag it to where you want it to go. So I've made another change recently to this to make that whole process a lot easier. So for example, I could, what could I do? I could do something crazy like, I don't want to do, yeah, let's say I take system time, for example, okay? And I'm going to perform a drag. Now what you've just seen here are these two little bubbles that appear above and below. They appear, you place your mouse pointer within it, start scrolling slowly, move it upward, scrolls quickly, okay? So I could move time in here, so that now becomes the first row, all right? And again, move down and move back in. All right, so that's something I've recently added. I should have done it for the current build, but I knew that I was going to have to update this list control again anyway. So it's in now. So it should make it a lot easier to kind of move items around, even if you don't use nested controls. Okay. So would you like me to actually go to another view where I have not set out this layout and show you how you can basically reproduce this layout in your existing views? Yeah, I know, Neil. I know. But I knew I had to update this anyway. So, and now is a good time as any. And it was needed. As I was playing around with it, it was sluggish. It was not user-friendly at all. So would you like me to go into a view that I have not altered? You know, something like this, and you know, nest them into a parent container, because all these are individual. They're not grouped, as you can see. There's no parent container with these items. Would you like me to give it a shot? Would you like me to do the ones on the left-hand side? Just to show you how you would go about doing it, or at least how you would go about doing it in its current form. Or not. We can talk about something else. All right. We'll go with this one because there's less items, if that's okay. So we have 1, 2, 3 labels, 1, 2, 3 data elements, okay? So what we'll do, just for simplicity's sake, well, actually I've already got a group called left, so that's fine. I'll keep that as is. Let's see. I was never consistent with my naming here by the looks of things. So why don't I do that now? So this will be total, whoops, total games label. And then what's this one? Maximum controller. Maximum controllers label. All right. So what we want when you add a UI element, and Neil requested that I put the parent controls or the container controls up front in their own little block here, so it's a lot easier to navigate to. So what I want here is a stack, and again the icon is indicating that I want to stack items vertically, so that's what I'm going to add. And again, the default position is always kind of in the center, but I want to get a feel for how deep this is going to be. That's about right. And I can have it like so. So that's where I want it to be. All right. What do I want? What do I want to call this? Info panel left. And then what I want to do is just simply click. I don't have one for left, right, and bottom. Okay. Let me just like I said, I was never that consistent with my naming. See how user-friendly that is now? All right, so what I'm trying to do here is I just want to get these into their own little group. All right, so, whoops, that one, and total games. Where's that? Good Lord, where do I add these? Is that it? Yeah, okay. All right, so now I've got a group, and you don't have to do this, you can be all on one group, but I was just trying to organize it. So all I have to do now is just click on the UI elements either in here or in here, okay, so you can see what they are, highlight them. So I want the label to be in the stack, all right, in the order in which they're being presented right now. Okay, so I'm just dragging them in. Total games, what's the next one? Maximum controllers, label. Yeah. All right, and then I want the data for that. And then I want total games label to be next. And then total game count. Whoops, sorry. Total game count. All right. So they're now all stored within a container. Look at that. Is that any better? Sorry, this is throwing me off. I'm using OBS and I don't see my own camera on screen. So what I'll do, I'll undo, Control Z. Thank God for undo. All right, I think I'm where I need to be. Okay. Yeah, I know. So, so what I was saying was, all I'm going to do is just simply drag the UI elements in. So I want the label, followed by the data item, followed by the label, followed by the data item, followed by the label, followed by the data item. Okay? And that's almost how we had it. But as you can see now, they're all within this parent, and I can move the parent around. All right? Now, because I have not touched the editor yet, all right, by clicking on individual UI elements, it's very difficult to see, like the positioning is off on this one. So again, I have not touched the editor. Things are a little bit quirky within the editor at the moment. But what we did here, or how I had this configured before, was, if you noticed, I have all this visibility conditioning set on and animation set on. So essentially, when you're running this view within BigBox and you're selecting different platforms here, the video and the information is fading out and then fading back in. All right, and I have all that set for all of the labels and data items here. Okay, so from a runtime perspective, that hits the computer pretty hard, because I'm running multiple things at the same time, the animations. All right, so what we can do, I can just simply copy, and let me just make sure that the visibility conditioning here, how is it set? Collapsed if platform media is set. I still want to keep the visibility conditioning. I just don't want the animation per item. So I selected copy. I select the parent. I hit paste, animate. Now we have the animation defined at the parent level, and let me just click on this. So once selected, it will fade in, and during selection, so as you're making the selection but you haven't landed on an item yet, it's going to fade out, so the opacity goes to 0. All right, those two animations will be triggered now at the parent level. So now I can click on the animation icon for each of the UI elements here and blow them away. I don't need them. So it's gone. You can click, just delete. And delete. Would you like me to put a clear button in here so you can just hit clear and it will erase all animations for that UI element? Is that something that you would want? Yeah, okay. Well, let me make a note of that, Neil. What is this? Properties. Animations. Clear all. Delete all. Clear. Just clear. Delete all. I've got room to say delete all. Delete all. Okay. And I'll put that to the right hand side of the delete button. Yep. Okay. So where was I? Okay, so click on the animate icon for this one, hit delete, do the same for this one, delete, this one, delete. So now I've removed all the animation for these elements. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's 6 storyboards that have been removed, and we've replaced those 6 with just 1, okay, at the parent level. All right. Now, because we're using a stack, we can do some really cool stuff now with the visibility conditioning that I had put out in a previous builds. I can't remember what it was. So we can do some pretty cool stuff. Let me see. What do we have for visibility conditioning in here? I can't remember if I've got the label. Do I have fallback? I do have conditioning, so that'll be interesting. Collapsed when... Alright, so it looks like I've got visibility conditioning set on all these things, and I've got it set to collapsed, which is great. This is exactly what we need. So collapsed when there's no value. Do I have the same for the label? I'm assuming I do. It's collapsed. Okay. Yeah, this is going to be pretty cool. One thing I do want to do here on the parent control is I don't want to vertically, set it to the top. I want it to be nicely centered within this stack. All right. So I'm going to hit save. And I'm just going to spin through some of the platforms I have. I'm just curious to arcade. Yes, that's fine. It will go to the bottom. See what we have as far as information on the left hand side. I'm probably not going to get what I'm looking for here, because I think they all pretty much have information. Yeah. What I'm looking for here is if media, for example, doesn't have any data, then I wouldn't expect the label or the data to show, and then maximum controllers and total games would go up. It would auto center. But it looks like I've got data for pretty much all of this, unfortunately. And I'm looking on the right hand side as well to see if all the data is consistent. It's got stuff in there. Interesting. Maximum controllers. It has nothing. So let me go back into edit this view. I'm curious. So maximum controllers. Let's edit the conditioning here. It's collapsed. Okay, fine. What I want to say here is it's collapsed when platform media text is null. All right. And I'm going to do the same on here, on the label. It's collapsed when platform media text is null, because null and blank are two different types of values. All right, so you have to check for both. So let's see. It's not doing it. There's something in here apparently. I'm not sure what value is in there. There's no fallback. I'm not using a fallback. So yeah, I don't know what's in there. There's some screwy value in here that's not null and not empty. So I'd have to look at my XML for that to see what's going on and debug it. I wonder. I wonder if I can fake it out. See, that's interesting. It's detected the fact that there is nothing. Interesting. I wonder. Let's add another condition. I'm curious. Platform media text is nothing. No. There's something in there other than blank or null, and I don't know what it is. So, anyway, the idea behind this is this should not display, this will not display, and total games and media will essentially come together. Well, the data isn't mine. I mean, it's on my computer. You know, that's usually what trips developers up is the data and how it causes programs to run differently or with unexpected results. Mr. Retrolust, hello. I'll tell you what, for you, and I don't know how easy this is going to do because my camera is going to obscure most of the view on the right. Actually, ignore that. Let me go to another platform view. I can do the same thing on this view. Same technique. All right. Okay, Liam. Yeah, that sounds good. Yeah, I'm not familiar with OBS at all. I tried it once on my laptop, never got it to work successfully. Broadcasting my desktop, it wanted to know a specific application, but at least on my desktop, I've got it broadcasting my desktop, so I'm okay. But I'm no pro. I've got no overlays, nothing funky, nothing fancy. All right, Mr. Retrolust. This is about parent controls or nested controls or container controls. All right. So what I was talking about earlier on the different view is what we have now are these container controls or parent controls, whatever you want to call them. And what I'm going to do here, I want to stack these items that are currently individual UI elements with their own animations defined. I want them in one container control. All right. And I want them still stacked vertically. All right. So I'm going to add a stack. I'm going to place it yay. All right. About there, I guess. And then all I'm going to do, and again for consistency's sake, I'm going to details, bottom. I'm going to move some of my items into different groups. And also what I've added here, Mr. Retro Lust, is the ability for drag and drop. If you notice, these bubbles appear when you have a vertical scroll bar. You can now just place your cursor in the bubbles and you can scroll through the list while dragging. All right, and you can do that with both groups and UI UI elements. All right, so let me just what is this? Platform media label. Total games label. Platform max controllers label. All right, so before I start moving them, Victor, no, the frame element is exactly the same. It will allow one UI element to be added inside the frame, okay? And because of which it's a container control. So that's why it's now showing in yellow, but it still operates exactly the same as you're used to using it, okay? It's just, it will allow you to add a UI element to it, all right? Yeah, no problem, Victor. Sorry about that. So, Mr. Retro Lust, all I'm going to do here is simply drag the items into the stack, all right? So max controllers label, max controllers data, total games label, total games data. And then when I click on stack, lo and behold, there you go. All right. And that's the center of the video. The other thing too, I'm going to make it centered. So now the data within it is now perfectly centered within the size of the stack, as you can see. Okay. And again, I want it centered with the video like that. All right. Now, you missed this. The way I had it before was these items here would fade in and fade out as you make your platform selection. Okay, this is a platform view. Well, we don't need it per item anymore. Okay, so all I need to do is just simply copy and then paste the animation only, and now we have the animation at the parent level. We can take a look just to double check, and we fade in once we've selected a platform, so we make the parent visible, and during the selection of a platform we fade out. So those are the correct animations I want at the parent level. Now it's at the parent, I don't need the animation defined at the individual UI element level. So just click on the icon, it will take you to the animation section. I'm planning on adding a delete all button, so you don't have to do multiple deletes. You can just hit it once. Again, click the animation icon there, takes you straight here. Delete. Scroll down a little bit. Delete. 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 Click here. Delete. All right. So now the animation is gone from these individual UI elements, and we're controlling it at the highest level, the parent level. Okay. And by the way, you can move stuff around within the parent. So, for example, let's say I want the data item to be above the label. You can do that. You just switch it around. Now, obviously, the height property is causing the label to show up here, but that's okay. I'm just showing you that it's very easy to move these items around. All right. Or maybe you don't want media up there. Maybe you want max controllers to be up front, right? You just place that there. That's it. That's how you move stuff around. While I'm in here, this was another thing I added because I noticed it's very easy to add entries into a parent, okay? But how do you, let me introduce, just for the sake of argument, let me add another, for complexity. I've added this other parent within a parent. So is that a grandparent? And that's a parent. Let me do this. It's not going to show, and that's fine. That's not really what I want to kind of demonstrate here, because the width and height of these elements are forcing this to not be visible, and that's okay. Don't want to show you that for now. How do I get, so for example, let's say I don't want this one within doc 1, I want it within stack 1, all right? Now I can move it up here, but then if I want it after this, it's going to assume, I was going to say, it would want to assume that I wanted to add it here. Well, what you can do, you place your mouse pointer to the left of this icon, and it moves it to the previous parent. All right, so I'll do that again. Right hand side of the icon, it will include within this parent. Drag to the left, it goes back a parent. I haven't seen that done on any other tree view on Windows before, so I thought that was quite an easy way of, and again, you know, if I wanted it to be here, left of the icon, now it's outside of this parent, all right? Anyway, I just wanted to show you that with the complexity here. And I don't need this dock. I just wanted to show nested multiple levels. What else? I just noticed this media here is not right aligned, so let's, is it right aligned? The text is right aligned, but is it truly right aligned? I don't know. It looks like it may have text in it. Maybe they're not all the same width. Yeah, 455. And this is what I'm saying, I haven't made changes to the editor yet, so you'll be able to do this visually and not change the properties manually, all right? Kind of defeats the whole purpose of a visual editor. But for the time being, I have to do it using the properties to update. Yeah, I just had all the data items, the widths of these elements, they were at different widths, and that was causing the alignment to be off. Now they're all the same, so now it's consistently butting up against the edge here, as you can see. All right. So I'm going to save this. And again, just scroll through. There's something. There is definitely something weird inside that maximum controller's data field. It looks like there's some hidden characters, because for the number 4 it should be right aligned, but there looks like there's some spaces embedded. I really need to have a look at the data in the XML. Yes, Mr. Retrolust, that's what this live stream is about. It's really to I'm looking for feedback from you guys or questions, so that's why I'm doing this morning. So yeah, shoot. The custom image limit in pixel size, can it be up to, it can be, yeah, no, it can be for sure, but I've put a restriction to make it 1080p, because initially when I built the custom image creator, it was primarily for use for the clear logos, and Jason didn't want them to exceed 1080p. But now that I've opened it up and you can use custom images for whatever you want, yeah, I really should open it up. So let me do that. Custom image creator, remove 1080p limit. All right. Yep, yep, it's noted. That's an easy change. Changes. I'm just making sure I don't lose my notes. All right, cool. Yeah, that's an easy one to get in, and I can get that in for this build. In the grand scheme of things, that would take seconds to make that change. So yeah, there's something clearly off within this, and I need to have a look at the XML on my side to see what's going on, because that looks like it's got the numeric value and then spaces, and that's what's also causing the visibility conditioning to not operate, because it looks like there's 2 spaces, or at least 2 spaces in there. So anyway, I'll figure it out. So let me see. I mean, that's what I can do at the very least here is what I'm gonna do, and this is going to take a little bit of time, unfortunately, to publish, because I've got all these custom images. But if Liam is still on, Mr. Angry Scotsman, or the Angry Scotsman, if he's still here, I haven't actually published this theme. This is really a theme that I initially developed in 100% XAML, and then I've replicated it within the community theme creator, and then enhanced it as I've added more features to my software. But ultimately, you know, I would like this to be to my own personal go-to theme. Um, you know, when I've got all the features in my software and I decide to pull the trigger on getting a cabinet. And obviously I'll make changes to the theme as I go, but that's what I'm using. So let me just exit the theme creator for a second. I'm going to punch up Big Box. And I did this earlier. I had like two updates to go through, but it should fire up just fine. I say that unless Jason's put another beta out. And it probably has. It's probably downloading a new beta. Alright, well, while it's doing its thing, let's go to themes. I'm going to go to the plain and simple theme that I was just modifying. And we'll go to the text games view. And I'm going to go through some of this. I want to look for at least a tag called left. No. Info. Where did I? Oh, details. That's what I called it. I think it was like details left or. Yeah. A lot of code. All right. So if you recall, the first view I went into was the game detail, the game text view. And it was the same premise. I had a stack. I was stacking these items vertically, and then ESRB and some other components were stacked or docked horizontally. Okay. So as you can see, the code here, we have a stack panel. Then we have the nested dock panel. So this is our parent control right here. And now we're nesting all our children. So if you're familiar with developing themes within XAML, this is exactly how you would have done it natively. And of course the theme creator has to do it in the same way. All right. So, you know, we have the stack, we have a dock, and then when we get down to ESRB, it gets really interesting. Release date, genre, play modes, play mode, ESRB. So again, we're still within the stack panel, but then we've got a dock panel, then we've got an image, and then next to the image we have another stack panel, and then within that we have multiple UI elements. So I'm very happy with the code generator side of things. It does build all the nested code correctly. So as you can see, stack within a dock, within a dock, within a stack. It's crazy. Yeah. So I just wanted to show you that. So yeah, it does follow the same kind of process that you would have ordinarily done within native XAML. Well, thanks. I try. Because it uses building blocks, the building blocks will always look consistent. Okay. So we'll always have the same, you know, the construction of each code block will always look the same. So yeah, it's easier to read. All right, Big Box is not firing up for whatever reason, and I suspect I'm a fair number of updates behind, so it's probably downloading the next beta or figuring out the next beta after that, and then it will force me to, you know, update and then update and update. Like I said, I'm so many updates behind, it's not even funny. But we can go back into the community creator for now. So that's where I'm currently at. I've added new UI elements as parent controls or container controls. I've adjusted the UI elements screen here so that you can easily add and navigate and manipulate those entries within multiple, you know, container controls. And like I said, you can just simply drag and you know, manipulate like search within a parent. I mean, you can just go totally crazy like so. All right, you can just keep on going. I'm not saying that you should do this, but I'm just showing you or demonstrating that you can actually do this. All right, and Control Z for undo, it will conform. So if you screw up, at least you can still undo, and it will undo. See, I've got it back to how it was before with undo. All right, so all of that still works. So the UI has been changed in here, obviously, to allow you to nest and control children within them. When it comes to stacking, so when a child has been included within a stack, like a stack control or a dock control, these X and Y coordinates don't mean anything, okay? What will actually happen is the X and Y will be replaced with a margin instead, okay? Because like I said, X and Y, you're talking about the positions within either the screen or another container control called grid, okay? And I haven't even started work on that one yet, so I don't really want to demonstrate that. But so like I said, X and Y coordinates don't mean anything. When you're in a stack or a dock control, all right? So for example, I could, I don't know if it will let me. It won't let me because it knows I'm within a parent. But I guess if I change the Y position to 700, for example, it's showing the focus down here, but the item itself is still up here, which is what I would expect. So to prove my point, actually, let me just make it 800 so that you can actually see the focus. See, the focus box is all the way down here, but the data item hasn't changed. It hasn't changed position. Because again, X and Y means absolutely nothing when it's within a stack or a dock, all right? And that's where this properties control will detect that, and it will switch the X and Y for margin controls instead. Or I might actually still call it X and Y. It might just say X margin, Y margin. I don't know yet. But those properties do exist behind the scenes. It's just that I'm not presenting them on the screen. But that's how that will work. So you can now use margins, which will operate like, do I have an example? I do have an example. It will look something like this to set the margins, okay? X number of pixels from the left, X number of pixels from the right, X number of pixels from the top, the bottom. That's what the margin property will look like, okay? and it's scalable. So if you've developed something on 1080p and you said, oh yeah, my text is 6 pixels from the left, okay, and then someone runs your theme that was initially developed in 1080p and they run it at 4K, this 6 will become, let's say, 10 or 8, okay, behind the scenes. Corner radius has always been there. It's been there since the very beginning. And the assists will show you as well. Thin rounded, normal rounded. See? Yeah, it's been there from the beginning. Yeah, only in frame. I lost my train of thought. Yeah, so the margin properties will look essentially like that, all right? And they'll scale based on the user's resolution, all right? Just like everything else scales today, margins will scale as well. But yeah, so with things like, you know, the data that you're presenting, I'm still yet to figure out how I'm going to use auto size and minimum width and maximum width and all that kind of good stuff. So I'm still giving that some thought. But it's definitely going to be utilized within this. There is no way around it. You need to be able to specify, oh, an item in my dock or an item in a stack, it needs to auto size accordingly, all right? So that, therefore, you know, it's not always going to be a physical width and height. Let me see. I think that's it. So I have, so this all works. I can manipulate this to, you know, till the cows come home. That's no big deal. I'm happy with this interface now. The next step is really to work on the editor itself. So as Big Box is now fired up. Look at that. And so let me get out of the editor. Jump back to Big Box. So yeah, as I was showing, as I go through the different platforms here, the left-hand side basically has 2 storyboards now instead of 6. One to fade out as I make a selection, and one to fade in once I've made a selection. Yeah, it had 6 running before. 2 per item. Yep. I'm just curious about some of the data in here. Huh. Yeah, some of these things looks like it's got a trailing blank. This one doesn't. This one's like, I'm looking at maximum controllers, the number 4. That's perfectly right aligned with the label above it. but in some cases it's not. It almost looks like the data has like a trailing blank for some reason. Like I said, I need to have a look at the data in XML to determine what's going on there. Weird. Okay. And I had the text view. So again, this used to have, how many is that? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22. I had 22 storyboards here defined within the original version of this view. And then because all those items in the center of the screen here, the details, are now within one parent, the parent has 2 storyboards. So to go from that many down to 2, I think is great. And of course, that's how you would do it in native XAML anyway. But for performance, running within Big Box, it will now run a lot cleaner, more efficiently, especially on lower end PCs. I mean, the runtime is exactly the same as it was performing before, but just more efficiently. Yeah, so no change there. So yeah, my next steps are working on the editor and allowing the margin properties to be manipulated. Also, from a visual perspective, it needs to detect exactly where a child is on screen. So let me just go back into here, for example. And I'm going to move the parent over here because it's more obvious. Let me just see make sure I'm not blocking it. You know what? I'm going to move it to the left, and I'll move this kind of over here. How's that? I've got room. All right. So, like I said, the focus doesn't know where all these items are because it's still using an X and Y coordinate, and it shouldn't be. They should be using margin. All right, so that is obviously the next thing that I now need to work on is as I click on a child element or an element that's part of a parent, I've got to write some code that I've never written before to detect the actual position of that element on screen, and then it will focus correctly. And then once it focuses that position correctly, you can alter the width and height accordingly. And you know, with something like a stack, it will actually affect or it should affect everything within it's just not doing it for some reason. It should affect, like if I change this label, right, because it wants to use margins. Yeah, it wants to use margins, so it's actually ignoring all of the X, Y, width and height stuff, which is good. That's what I want it to do. So so obviously that's the next trick. Remove all this and replace it with a margin. And then the ability to say, hey, I don't want it to exceed a certain width or a certain height. And that's where minimum width and minimum height will come into play as well. And I want to be able to set it up so that you can at least set the width and height visually as well. All right. So yeah, it's going to be real interesting. Yeah, actually, I can demonstrate this. So, for example, this this dock panel here. If I alter the width and height, you see that how it's impacting the stack here, because I'm telling it that the height of this row is now this. See how it's automatically pushing down everything else in the list. Ignore the fact that this box is over here and not up here. That will kind of throw you off, but that's essentially how this will work within the editor when I put the code in to make this display right up here. It'll be real cool. As you design, you can see how this stuff is going to be displayed. It's pretty wild. Yeah, but that will be my next thing, is to play around with that. The other things that I've kind of discussed with Neil. Actually, yes, anything's possible, and I'm going to make a note of that. It might be something like, if I right click on this parent, I could say have a menu option in here to say adjust all heights, you know, or right click on one of the children within that parent, and there could be a new option in here that says align all elements to match height, or align all elements to match width. How about that? Does that sound good? That way you're using one of the children to apply its properties to all the other children in that parent. Does that make sense? So I could say apply width to all children, or other elements. Apply height. Yeah, okay. All right, I'll do that. So UI element properties. You could say right click child, new menu option, apply width to all elements, or apply height to all elements. What we got? And I would say the same for docs, but for the width property. Yeah, I'm gonna make that available for both doc and stack. Yep. Yep. I'll give you credit for that one. Hey Victor, what is your forum ID on the Launchbox forum? Ah, right. Okay. Okay, cool. Got it. Well, any other, while we're talking about it, and again, this is the reason why I've got the live stream going, is to kind of get your feedback now, so that I don't have all this feedback at the very end, and I'm happy that the new version is out there, and they're like, well, it's good, but can you add this? Can you do this? I'd rather do it now because I will be in those areas of the code. So is there any other kind of shortcuts you can think of? Just to make sure, what I'm planning on doing, and I discussed this with Neil, is that if you do cut, copy, delete at the parent level, it will do cut, copy, delete for all the children within that parent. So in this example, stack 1 contains all of this, okay? All of this. So if I hit cut, as long as all the UI elements within that list are allowed to be cut, because you may be trying to delete a wheel and it won't allow you to delete a wheel. As long as all those elements are allowed to be, cut or deleted, it will add all this to a collection, and then you could simply go to another view and hit paste, and it will paste the parent, the children, or in this case, the grandparent, the parents, and their children. All right. So that is something I am definitely having to do. I need to do that. So so basically, group copy, group cut, group delete, you'll be able to do, and group pasting. All right. So I don't need to add it to my list. I'm already aware that I need to do this. So what else? What else? What else? One thing I don't like, just from a UI, I like this, but I've got an awful lot of real estate that's unused here. Okay, and I was thinking I definitely want to right align this stuff here just to give me a little bit more room. Don't think I've tried to move. Is it copy and paste groups? You can't copy paste groups. There is no copy. There is no copy feature at the group level. Yeah, that's going to be different. And remember what I've said with children that are docked. Okay, the children that are docked or stacked, they don't have an X and Y coordinate. They will essentially be using margin values. So those margin values will be copied forward. The only layout will not be copied is the parent. Okay, so if I were to, let's say I've copied this and I'm now in a new view and I hit paste, this parent will be pasted wherever the mouse pointer was. Okay, but everything within it will still look like this because the margin properties would have been copied exactly and pasted exactly. The parent would not be pasted at exactly the same position. So Victor, you're correct. You would hit right click on the parent, you would say paste properties layout, and it would paste that parent at exactly the same location from the view that you copied it from. All right, so it would work the same way, but the children, they would still align 100%. All right, because it doesn't use X and Y coordinates. It doesn't use the typical layout coordinates. In other words, I'll make sure it works, all right? So back to this. I want to right align all of this, but then this leaves the menu you know, it leaves this menu icon up here. Um, so I didn't know what to do with that. You know, instead of having this icon here, maybe I could have like a flat little highlighted, you know, a few pixels deep. When I say a few, you know, maybe five or six pixels deep from the top of the group, that would indicate if you click in here, that will open up the menu. And then that way I can get rid of this clunky context menu thing here. It would actually be up here. So whatever group that you're currently working on, like this one, it would appear here. And then that way I can right align this stuff. How does that sound? Yeah, I don't know. Because remember, you can rename the group. So I can't have it on the right hand side, because as I type, it would have to move that icon to the right. And to the left, I've already got this minimize, maximize icon. I didn't necessarily want yet another icon next to it, because now you've got three things that you can click in. You know, if I had it to the left, it would be, you can click on this one, you can double click this one, and then if this was in between, then you could click on that one. So I don't know. I'll tell you what, I'll play around. I'll put some kind of banner, if you will, some kind of clickable area up here to indicate that it's a menu, and we'll see. I'll see how that plays out. All right, and then I'll share that in a video to see what you think. Personally, I think it would look cleaner. But I'll give that a go. I just thought of that right now. So, or you can make the icon show up when hovering on the top of the menu bar of a group. Yeah, I mean, I could do that too. But I want to make it obvious so that you're not, for a newbie, for a new person using the theme creator, I want it obvious. So if I've clicked on a group, I can see that this bar is visible. You place your mouse pointer over it. You know, the tooltip text could say menu, but then you click on it, and then sure enough, the menu shows. I want it to be obvious. If I do the hover over the top, that means it's not showing at all, and only when I hover over that top portion will it display. It's almost like an Easter egg. I want to kind of avoid that. I want it to be obvious so that people can experiment and they can click on things. Yeah, I know. Yeah, I'll think of something. But let me make a note of my original idea. So, group, panel, horizontal, menu, icon, center of group. And then I can say right align the right align, visible, locked, etc. And that will give me, it'll just give it a cleaner look. All right. What else? What else? What else? Anything else while we're in here? Do you want storyboards? Do you want animation to run at all while you're in the editor? Do you want an option that you can disable all animations within the editor? because I've noticed with certain themes, if I'm running this on my laptop, and my laptop is fairly decent, but if I've got an awful lot of animations going on, it will make the editor very sluggish. So would you like an option in this panel to essentially disable all animations? By default, it will be on, or at least I can make it remember what that setting is. Okay, I'll do that. Editor. Enable, disable all animations, and then remember settings. All right. Yep. Also, maybe the translation animations that are not seen. Maybe the translation animations that now are not seen. Say that again, Victor. Let me punch this one up. Right. And what I do, so let's save this. So for example, when I come in, the editor will not display animations that move UI elements up, down, left or right. So I have this pop in. Mostly when they have to do with moving. Yeah. Are you saying you want me to prompt that if I've disabled all animations? Is that what you're saying? Just as a reminder that you currently have them disabled? Is that what you're trying to tell me? Oh, okay. Sorry. If you have animations enabled, that all animations are seen, yeah, okay, except for the movement ones, yep. Oh, okay. Okay. Okay, I got you. Yeah, and it's just within the editor. You can disable all animations, but when you publish, obviously the animations are still going to run. It's just purely for the editor, so it doesn't slow it down. Yeah, no worries, Retro. You have a good one. Have a beer, or 7, or 20. All right, so let me make a note of that one then. Disable animations. Oh, I've already got that. I'm sorry. I'm getting senile. Oh, I am senile. Enable, disable all animations, remember settings, and prompt on startup or prompt on edit. Okay. All right. Anything else? Do you like these icons, by the way? They are the same images that I use within the context menu. I've just placed them in a, you know, a colored orb. Yeah, I was trying to, I mean, obviously they look very different from the build that you're using if you're using 1089. Um, but I wanted to use the same kind of design language that I've applied, you know, within the properties panel here. So I've given them some lighting, given them some shadowing. So that's why I wanted to, you know, go with this kind of look and feel. So is that okay? Yeah, that's right. PS Vita bubbles. I didn't think of that, but yeah, yeah. Now that you say that, yeah. And that took a week for me to settle on the look of these icons and the colors too, so that they wouldn't clash with existing colors. Um, while we're talking about the icons, oh, how can we reset the angle property? Oh, that's a good one. You know what? So with angle, I forgot to give you a text box that actually has the numeric value in there. So yeah, I can put the text box right next to the angle control, and then that way you can key in any value you want and you don't have to do it graphically. Is that okay? And the same is true for the effect as well. Let's see, drop shadow, yeah. So direction and angle, I just need a text box next to it so that you can change the value. Is that cool? Yeah, all right. So properties, what was it? Angle and direction. Provide text box for value input. All right. Is skew Z feasible? I don't know. I don't know if there is a skew Z. Let's have a look. I don't think so. It's just usually skew X, skew Y. Oh, let me no. Skew transform just uses X and Y. I know what you're trying to do. You're trying to do a three-dimensional look, and it really sucks because this is WPF, but if we were doing this in, oh, what's the other framework, I guess? They actually have a very simple way of doing it. Because I know what you're talking about. You could essentially have the video kind of off kilter, right? Real easy. I've forgotten the name. You got WPF and then you got the other one. Ay, ay, ay. It's because I don't develop using that. So anyway, yeah, it not to say it can't be done. It can be done. There is a three-dimensional component that you can leverage within XAML. I've experimented with it with very little success, and I would need to play around with it a lot more. But you know, it's entirely possible from what I've played around with. that you can take an existing UI element and attach it to a 3D parent, if you will, and then you manipulate the 3D parent, and by doing so, it's manipulating the element that you place within it in a 3D space, complete with lighting, shadowing, camera position, and all that kind of stuff. That's kind of overkill for what we would typically use that for, because I know where I've wanted to use it is with an arcade cabinet that's angled, an arcade cabinet on screen. Actually, I've got an example. Yeah. So yeah, yeah. No, I'm with you. I totally get it. Let's see. See, this isn't even showing a video. This is the games view. Maybe I didn't do it for the games. Maybe I did it for the platform. Let me just double check this. Hmm. Ah, there you go. I knew I did it for something. So let's have a look. Selected item video. I'm using the skewing, but that's not what I want to do. I actually want to use a real 3D, effect so it's wider, closer to us, and not so wide as it's further away. And the only way I found that you could do that successfully is using that 3D control. But sadly, there is a real simple way of doing it in XAML, but not for WPF, and that doesn't mean anything to you, but a different technology, and something that Jason uses WPF, so therefore everything that I produce has to conform within WPF. But there is another platform, if you will, that can leverage some of that 3D stuff very, very simply. It's just a real bummer that they haven't made it available within WPF, at least easily. So the short answer is no. The slightly longer answer is I know it can be done. It's not simple, but now that I have parent and child elements set up, it's not necessarily impossible for me to create a new parent called 3D, and whatever you throw into that 3D container you can manipulate. All right, and I don't know if I still have, oh, I do. Okay, all right. So just to prove I'm not blowing smoke up your butt, I have actually played around with this, and this was a test that I was playing around with last year with Neil. So let's see. What I'm going to do, let me publish this. And this is called 3D test. So then if I launch Big Box, and wait 10 minutes for it to load, and this is not a fault of Big Box, by the way. There's something weird with my desktop. Nice. uh, what I was trying to do here, I want to manipulate these values and show you how I've taken a flat image and I can basically do whatever I want in a 3D space. I've published it. I want to run big box so that I can actually change those values in those text boxes. So we can talk about some other stuff while I wait for big box to punch up. So let's see. Yeah, let me just punch up the editor again. So while we were talking about the properties, were there anything else that you would like to be added or changed to this? Could we get more options for the favorite and selected? Oh, is that the that's not within here. Those are the thumbnails, right? I think that's within the text. Is that right? Oh, that's not even at the game level. I think that's you're talking about the filters list. Yeah, these. Yeah. So you're talking about yeah, they're very primitive, right? So that's favorite, and then recent. You know I added those UI elements for you, right? Okay, so the thumbnail UI elements. All right. What were you? Well, I think could we get more options for the favorite and recents? Maybe a selected color option and a property for radius. Okay. So radius, color options. Gotcha. Now, I haven't looked at the code for that in a very long time, Neil, since I implemented it for you. So yeah, because it's all this is bare bones. Yep. No, I agree. I agree. It was kind of thrown out there, and you know, in a hurry. I mean, it works and it works fine. It's just it's minimal. Uh, Anything else? I think that's it for now on UI elements and properties and whatnot. Still waiting for Big Box to load. How is the negotiation with Jason going to render the wheel in the creator? He's okay actually with supporting me. Um, no, he's totally cool with it, um, and he's very much willing to help me with anything. Okay. Um, to be honest, the showing the wheel in the editor is kind of very low on my priority list at the moment. Okay. Um, this is a much higher priority. Is there any way you can add pause support? You're talking about the you know, the startup, pause, shutdown, am I correct? Is that what you're talking about? Those views? When you click on a game, it comes up with a startup screen, and then it switches to the emulator. You exit the game, it says game over or closing. Yeah, okay. I can do it, but Big Box, and I've seen this going back and forth in the forum. My theme creator uses plugins at runtime within Big Box, and it has to, because it right. Well, okay. Hold that thought. So what you may have noticed is that when you design a theme using the creator, it will, if you've specified aspect ratio stretch, the view will adjust according to the user's resolution. So if I've developed something in 4K, it will scale down to 720p or whatever resolution, okay? And in order for that to work, I've got custom plugins that I created to make that work. My understanding for the startup, shutdown, and pause views, they do not support plugins. All right, so that would be something that Jason would need to add to support plugins in order for me to add the views here. But for me, yes, I could add those views to this list. Startup, pause, and shutdown. I could add them here. You design them. Publish, no problem. But they won't run within Big Box. All right. So to your next comment, I mean, Launchbox has a custom pause screen. I'm pretty sure plugins are supported in the pause screen unless I'm mistaken. Yeah, it just needs clarification from Jason. If that is true, that it does support it, then I can do it. All right. But I think I've already got this noted in my... Yeah, I just need confirmation. So let me just add this to my list. Confirmation from Jason. Plugins supported for pause, startup, and shutdown. All right. Yeah, if he supports plugins for that, I can easily do it on here. All right. There's no magic to it. I mean, the bummer would be if I made it available here, but you can't actually use it in Big Box. That would suck. So I have to try and limit myself to what is currently available within Big Box. Okay. And actually, this is a good segue while we're waiting on Big Box to start up, and it's still not running. See? And again, this isn't a fault of Big Box. There's something screwy running on my desktop. So let's see. I just want to make sure it's at least started. Yeah, it's started, but we'll see. We'll give it another go. So while we're at it, actually, I think this is a good segue. Let's see. I do what I thought. what's going on. It does it everyone. It does it with Steam as well. So this isn't the only. Big Box is not the only application that kind of does things a little screwy. Let me see. I have made notes, and I was going to do this last night, but I didn't. And I was going to put together a formal document with examples for Jason, with some of the things I would like to see changed or enhanced within Big Box that we could leverage within the theme creator and obviously make our themes, you know, that much better. Yeah, I don't know if I really want to discuss that here. I'd rather put a document out and then either do another live stream and we can go over that document, or I can just you know, put a list together with some examples, and then have you guys either kind of vote it up or vote it down if you think it's a good idea or not, and then I can put it to Jason. All right. Yeah, I don't think Big Box is gonna start up for me, unfortunately, because I really did want to show you this 3D test thing. Well, you know what? I think I can get around it. Let's see if I can get around it by doing it manually. So this is user source. I'm going to edit the user source where we've got the camera. So let me change the camera position to 5. All right, and I'll save it. And now, as you can see, excuse me, I've changed the camera position to be further away from the item. Okay. So let's change some other values. I think this is X, Y, and Z. I can't remember. So forgive me. I'm going to change that -5 to a -15. Okay, so that's 15. We change that to -45. And I think that is the Z. Let's change the X. Let's do 90. And again, forgive me, I have not played around with this in a long time, so I do not remember what these properties mean. Angle, camera. Yeah, I don't remember any of this stuff at all. Let's do 180. I'm not positive this is... Yeah, it didn't really do anything. Okay, all right, that's the x-axis. So if I want his right arm to be closer to me, yeah, there you go. Let's do 180. And it didn't do anything. then we got this whole angle thing going on. So, and again, I don't know what that does. See, I have no clue. Yeah, and it's made it darker. So for all I know, I'm messing with the lighting and shadowing of this stuff. So, but anyway, yes, I have experimented with 3D 3D controls, and it's not, you know, it's not too bad. I mean, if you look at the source code here, I essentially have a parent, this viewport to 3D. That's the parent, and then within that parent, I've added one child, which is the image, the Mario image, and that's it. I'm not doing anything weird with the image at all. It's all controlled at the parent level. So, you know, if I get to understand how this truly works, then I could actually develop a parent control that I would add up here to say 3D. And then you would just simply move the element or elements that you want to show in 3D into that container, and that's it. Yeah, the scaling was a question. Not to say it can't be done. Anything can be done, Neil. It's just I don't know the ins and outs of the 3D side of things. But yeah, the scaling is odd. See, it scales the image, but what would it do on somebody else's resolution, you know? So, yeah, no, it would be cool if I understood it, you know, a lot better, which I don't. But that's it, you know. I mean, personally, a lot of progress has been made. I've still got a lot of work ahead of me. And like I said, this is actually the last feature I'm adding to this theme creator, to Nest controls. I can't think of anything else feature-wise to add. Now that doesn't mean I can't add the startup, shutdown, and pause views. I don't consider those features because I already have views defined already. It's just a case of defining another 3. So so I don't want you guys to kind of freak out and say, well, no more, you're not doing any more development. Well, that's not technically speaking true. As far as like big things to be added to this software, this is the last one. Additions can be, new stuff can be added, leveraging stuff that's already, you know, pre-existing. So I'm not too worried about that. And then obviously bug fixes and all that kind of stuff. That's just part of the course. But yeah, this is the last thing. And as Big Box is not punching up, I guess it doesn't really matter at this point. I've kind of demonstrated the 3D thing. So I'll shut that down. Yeah, was there anything else? before I shut this down. I think I've made some good notes on here that would help us all. Well, I appreciate that, Victor. I think some of your posts and some of my responses were, I think one of your comments on the forum were basically what I'm tackling right now, which is which essentially is this. I think one of your comments was pertaining to this. You know, you wanted to create like a info panel and easily, and obviously this build will allow you to yeah, let me, I mean, that's a good question, Neil. This is what I want to do next. Okay, so I've got to allow margins for those controls that you've added to a stack or a dock. Okay, and then the editor has to be, and then the editor has got to be modified so that when I click on a child, it knows exactly where it is in relation to its parents on screen. Okay, so basically it's going to show the focus border in the correct location. All right, once I've got those two things in place, and cut, copy, delete has been added as well, so it understands a whole block of items that can be cut, copy, and delete. Then at that point, I will share a build. Okay. And that won't be done for tomorrow. So it, you know, realistically, yeah, and paste. I mean, paste will paste whatever's in the collection. That collection could have one item in it, or it could have 50 items in it. So, yeah. So it could be another month from now before I'm ready to share a build with at least those changes to the editor. All right, because like I said, there's a piece of code I've got to add that's got to detect where a child is in relation to a parent within a parent and potentially within a parent and parent and so on and so forth. I've never written code like that before, so I'm going to be dabbling with stuff that's, you know, new territory for me. It could be easy, you know, could be very difficult, and it could take me a month to figure it out, or it could take me a day to figure out. But that's one thing that I definitely have to, you know, focus on. Otherwise, the editor is shit, you know. So yeah, that's really my next step, is to work on the editor. Yeah, early Christmas gift. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it'll be cool. And I've made a note that I need to have a look at my my metadata data that I have. I'm not sure why Max controllers was not disappearing. It should have been. So I'll figure that one out. But yeah, that's it. So I think it'll be a good month or so before I'm ready to supply a build, if that's okay. But in the interim, if I make any, you know, what am I trying to say? If I hit some major milestones within that, then I will share videos or screenshots or both. You know, as I hit those milestones, as I'm progressing with this build. So that way, I don't want you to think that I'm not doing anything. I am working on this for sure. It's just very time uh, time consuming. All right. Okay. Well, that's all I've got. Unless you've got anything else to ask or add. And it doesn't have to be about this. It could be about anything in general. Yeah, no worries, CMOS. I'll reach out. The only thing I'm hesitant about putting out, pre builds, is that I would hate for somebody to take their existing themes, their projects, and start changing their theme using a pre-release build. And meantime, I've changed my mind on certain things. Maybe I've added a UI element or renamed it, and then I give you the new build, and you load it up, and you load your theme, and your theme is not displaying all the UI elements that it once was because I've renamed stuff. I would hate to do that. So I'm very hesitant about sending out pre-release builds, but I can always give you, a disclaimer: back up your themes, back up your work before you use this. But yeah, I will bear you in mind if I need a beta tester, for sure. All right. Well, if there's nothing else, we're going to call it a day. I'm going to have another coffee, and I'll add my notes to my my software project, so I know that I've got these items to tackle within this build. Well, that's good. Always back up. All right. Yeah, and Liam, you can always reach out to me on Discord if there's some kind of intro thing that you want to do, and we can have a separate session and mess around with it, because like I said, all those like little YouTube intros that I have out there, I built using the theme creator. So here's one of them, for example. So yeah. Right. That's a good question. What is it? Let's see. That is a good question. What the hell is it? Pound 4059. 4059. Let's see if I got that right. Cool. Yeah, it should be easy, Liam. I've got no kind of blocking on there. It's just public, so it should work. No fine, no problem. All right. Well, thank you for providing your feedback. That's really what this live stream was about. I didn't want to go too far down the road and then tweak it after the fact. It's better that while I'm in that general vicinity of the code, I can add these niceties as I go. So, you know, I much appreciate that. I will take my personal notes. I'll add them to my program so I know that they should be part of this particular build. The list is growing for 1090, but like I said, it's a big modification, a large modification that affects everything within the theme creator. But I feel pretty damn confident that I can get it all done. It's just the UI and the user experience is the thing that's slowing me down at the moment, which is normal. But the main components are in place. As you saw, the code generator, it handles that just fine. I'm very happy with that, if I say so myself. It's just the visual, and you know, I just want it easy. I just want it to be, you know, easy to use. So, yeah. If I've got any other kind of major milestones that I've accomplished, I'll put another video out, or I might even put a build out. It all depends on where I'm at. All right. But until then, you know, have a great weekend. And again, thank you very much for joining and providing feedback. It's fantastic. And Liam, I guess I'll be talking to you fairly soon then. All right, everyone, take care.